his magic middies. Will they get you over the line this season? Will Jake have Tedesco this week? Maxie, the consistent keeper. Ryan Hadley, Australia's next test fast bowler. Timmy, the 2020 SuperCoach champion. And Savs, the Newcastle. Tommy Turbo tragic.
Are you ready for some football?
We're ready for some football, baby.
All right. Here we go.
You're now listening to the SuperCoach Experience podcast.
What is up? Cleary gone, guns fire, and trades are dire. We're here for the round 24 wrap-up of the weekend, and it's getting hot for this back end of the season. I'm joined by the coach of Kiss My Behind, Jake. How you doing, Jake?
Yeah, pretty good, man. I liked your little rhyme to begin with. You can tell that you're a rapper in a past. Actually, you have been a rapper this year, or not this year, but this life. But SuperCoach-wise, pretty poor round, but I'm not in the hunt like you, and I'm through to a lot of prelims after a big week last week. So I could, sit back and take a little bit of a hit.
I wouldn't necessarily say I'm in the hunt. I'm still like 500 points, 400 points from first, but I scored 14-12 this week, and a lot of decisions I did make didn't maximize my score. It could have been a lot bigger. So I've really got to make sure I maximize the score week in and week out, and I'm just not doing that. I think I will constantly. It looks like I'm seeing green most weeks, which is good, and quite excited for what's coming up. But the big news of the weekend, I was nearly going to do an emergency podcast on Friday because of this, because this news is massive for SuperCoach and the ramifications for the people in the top spot and people in head-to-head finals, etc., trades versus no trades. The Nathan Cleary injury doesn't look like he's going to be back until finals. I don't expect to see him in the regular season again. I don't think it's worth them risking. We might, there's a chance we could see him for one game potentially, but I don't think they'll rush him. Jake, what was your first reaction? And after sitting on it, one, do you have trades to deal with the issue? Or two, if you didn't, what would you do? Or how would you cry?
I was going to say, if you don't have trades, there's nothing you can do. And it's kind of just hope that whoever your second halfback is right for the rest of the year. But I do have trades. And I think if you've got trades, depending on your flexibility, I think he's going to maybe trade out this week or even the weekend after. Obviously, you'll probably go through them on Tuesday, the big ins or the big replacements at halfback. But I guess standouts would be DCE. You've managed to get him 1 week early, or 2 weeks early, actually.
2 weeks early. I've netted 15 points from doing Jerome Hughes to Daly Cherry Evans. So I think we can say after the Cleary injury, it's such a hindsight thing. Like, it's such a very specific situation that would have made it be like this. But I could have done Cleary to DCE and had Hughes and DCE. But that's all hindsight. We didn't know Cleary was going to get injured. But Timmy drummed at home, don't do the trade. You don't need to do it. It's not going to gain you that much. And, he was right. I knew he was right, but I didn't know that DCE was going to be an option for a second or first halfback going forward because Cleary wasn't going to be out. So, it's really put a spanner in the works. And it's actually a really bad thing for my side, not just because I don't have trades, but because a lot of people are going to have DCE for the matchup I was really hoping for next week, which is Manly vs Tigers.
Tigers. Yeah. And that's probably why a lot of them will go there. Prelim must win sort of thing. So, I think DCE probably be the most traded in. Maybe some Sam Walker love, but they scored big against Parramatta and he only got 50. So I think DCE, unfortunately for you, South is going to be one of the most traded in next week for those that do have trades and getting rid of Nathan.
I'm seeing a lot of people look at Sammy Walker as a potential replacement. Personally, I'm not a Sammy Walker guy. I just feel like he's not my type of SuperCoach flavor, so I probably wouldn't be looking there. I think DCE is the guy, but Sam Walker's got 3 good matchups, whereas DCE has 1 great matchup and 2. I think he can still do well in the last 2 matchups, but I think overall Sam Walker's run home is a lot better than DCE's. And also, if it wasn't for the potential resting around 26. I actually think Jerome Hughes would still be a pretty good option. And I think if he wasn't rumored to rest in round 26, I probably would have done the trade. But, you live and you learn. I think.
Live by the sword, Saz.
Yeah.
Don't let Timmy keep shoving that straight into your guts, mate. Just live by it.
I still don't regret it at all, the trade. I'm happy to have Cleary sitting there. And, it's been really tough trying to pick my bench. I've got one less problem now. So I've gotten through to the preliminary finals. I'm in every single one of my cash comps. I think I got knocked out of one, and I think I was in like 6 or 7. So pretty happy. And if I get through next week, then you're cheering because you win a portion of the money in most cash comps. Most cash comps you get prize for second place. But we're going to wrap up the weekend. Let's start off with the Penrith game. Obviously, Cleary is the big one there. 61 points. Actually updated quite good, but he was a massive popular VC option. Obviously, not a loop there. But Lindsay Smith, I think when who was the front row? When Terrell May became a probable sell, Lindsay Smith was a guy a lot of people were looking at, and he's really performed.
Yeah, it was a weird one. He ended up playing edge and played out the whole game. So, I mean, if you do need a front rower, say you've got Cotto like me and you need a front rower, he's a cheapish option, especially if he's going to keep the edge spot for the next couple of weeks. I'm not too sure. I mean, Martin will be back. So, I mean, they probably prefer to play Mav as the other back rower. So, Lindsay will probably end up back on the bench through the middle because they got Fish back as well. So, it's kind of one you wish we got on a bit later, but kind of just cop it.
For sure. Casey McLean's second top scores with 87 points, pumping it out. A lot of people wouldn't have played him, but it's quite nice to have someone who scores well on your bench. It's a bit frustrating sometimes, but if they're there and they can score that's good. Isaiah Yeo, I was really keen on him a couple of weeks ago, 86 points, pumping it out. Dylan Edwards becomes an interesting one with Cleary out now because 84 points, Jesus, against Melbourne. I think with the run home they have, and he will be goal kicking, I think he is a brilliant option. Maybe after Turbo, maybe go.
I was going to say it's a big pod move when you've got Turbo, I guess, this week against the Tigers and Teddy, a good matchup as well. So I think you were just going to say that round 26, he could be a quite a decent pod move to go Turbo to him for Hail Mary sort of play. Because, I mean, when Nathan was gone, he was scoring tons every week.
It's pretty tricky to kind of pull the trigger on a fullback because I think Tommy still can score well in the last 2 matchups versus the Bulldogs and the Sharks. And I don't think he rests because they do play the Sharks who it could be a top 4 clash.
And the Dogs as well. And that could be a top 4 clash as well. So they're big games for Manly.
Exactly. So they need to win both. I guess if they do lose the Bulldogs one, then it doesn't become a top 4 clash. It becomes a staying in the 8 potential. I don't think they can miss the 8 really. If they win next week, they're pretty much locked in. But you would hope that just things work out that they don't get a rest. But Dylan Edwards, I think he's a great option. And if he plays that last week, I think if you're going to trade up your sleeve and, a Teddy or a Turbo do rest, then it's a nice one to have. With Nathan Cleary being out, I think Jerome Luai is not a bad replacement at halfback. He scores in the middle of the season without Cleary. Have a look at this. 73. That was Magic Round. 73, 124, 102, 130, 61, and then 90 points. That was with Cleary. Cleary's like second game back, but his form through round 12 to round 21, phenomenal. And, he's petered out in the last couple of weeks, but I think he is a genuine option to replace Cleary.
Yeah, I do like that move. I mean, they versed Canberra, who are leaking points for fun, and Souths in the next 2 games. So yeah, I love that move. I mean, we didn't mention why Mikey isn't here, but we did get a bit of a word with him. I was having a chat with him before, and he does like the look of Luai as a Cleary replacement. So there's that. But again, Mikey, his internet was a bit of a potato today. I put it just down to the Penrith loss this week, and he didn't want to face talking about Penrith losing.
Yeah, that's probably
do with that information as you will.
Also, shout out to the audio listeners. I tried to play with the audio last week and I absolutely ruined it. Every peak was really high and every low was really low. So it was a very tough listen every episode last week because I tried something different and I'm going back to the original kind of audio. So I apologize for the people who were listening and probably switched off because of how bad the audio was. So apologies for that. Tungo, 44 points. Luai. Not much else for the Panthers. Interesting one that Laurie actually keeps a spot in the side as a winger.
I mean, those that held him, fair enough, but I don't know. I
Do you see him
bringing
staying
him in,
there?
obviously. I think so. We didn't really get any news of Taruva having an injury or an illness or anything. So maybe the fact that, while Edwards was away, Laurie lit it up and Taruva was a bit meh. Deserved a spot to keep. But they did lose this game, so there could be some changes.
Yep, for sure. Elias Cadol, top scores for the Storm. A lot of people sat him on their bench, including myself. It's tough, isn't it? Did you sit him?
I did sit him. I saw the little grey thing on the screen for your Savs. I was like,
Yeah.
I know the feeling, but I mean, he scored a double. Could have been a lot more if it was line breaks involved. So it's not great, but it's not terrible for if you didn't play him.
You know what's funny? I actually look at his score. I'm still happy with the decision. Like, yeah, it would have been nice. And it's funny, I actually called Timmy half an hour before the start of the Penrith game, and I'm like, are we just overthinking this? Like, should I just play Katoa? And he was like, no, they're playing Penrith. Like, you can choose these matchup. It doesn't make sense. Top of the table clash. And I agree with him. So I didn't play him. But, a part of me just thought, with Dom Young potentially not playing on Friday night, potential outs throughout the weekend, just bank someone early. I think that's always a pretty solid play to bank people who are healthy early. And as we saw, Iro got ruled out pretty late, which was a spanner in the works. So it would have been nice to have Katoa already played for yourself and not have to worry about that late outage. But yeah, 85 points, 2 tries, would have been 50 without the tries. So pretty happy that I didn't have to play him. Harry Grant, 57, Nick Meaney, 59. All the regular Melbourne guys scored pretty well. So
yeah,
if you did hold on.
Well, I mean, they weren't amazing, but they're okay. And I guess this was their hardest matchup for the run home. So you kind of, you take that if you play them or if you benched them.
Yeah, if you had to play them, then you're not disappointed. All right. You want to kick off this Manly game?
Oh, Savs, you should have planned it so you got to talk about Manly.
Yeah, I
know. Well, I guess Manly, Tommy Turbo, he was the most captain guy, 105. I see that you captain him as well. I mean, he proved to kind of be one of the, not the best captaincy option of the main guys, but I mean, there wasn't much between them. And the fact that they, play the Tigers next week, I think he will be even more captained next week. Ches, 73, Garrick, 61. Olakau'atu with a 47. The game just kind of didn't go to him, but I think the attacking stats will come next week. So these guys are all going to be plays next week. So I don't think you can really mention him. And Jason Saab's kind of been a Hail Mary pick. You could have got him at 300K midway through the season. Now he's at 600 plus. So, and banging out big scores as well.
Holy
shit.
shit.
530, but he's the definition of up and down, this bloke.
Yeah, look, there's 2 single digit performances, which, 30 minutes, 17 minutes. So you'll definitely take that. But like Gold Coast, 51 points, 111, 116, 2 weeks in a row. He's the kind of guy when Tommy is on fire, he's one of the main beneficiaries. Although the 111 against the Cowboys wasn't actually when Tommy was playing fullback. So I think he's a massive one for next week, for sure.
Oh, yeah, for next week. Like if, you need a Hail Mary play at a centre winger, he's definitely one of the guys to look at because I put him in the same bracket as a Dom Young. As long as there's points on offer, he's going to be a part of it.
Yeah, I agree. I guess for Manly as well, like they're humming at the moment. They've got a good matchup next week. But they do have 2 tougher matchups. So, like me having 4 of their players,
Yeah, you wouldn't be going to sub.
yeah, I still can't. I still don't mind having them for the last 2 matchups. I think they can still score well against them. I think Manly's style of play can still score points against the Dogs and also the Sharks at 4 points. But yeah, I probably wouldn't just add one more to that.
No, not well. I mean, those 4 are the clear guns for Manly. I wouldn't be going too rogue when you've already got 4. On the other side, Adam Fanua-Blake, is that a grey thing that you didn't play him, Savs?
No. I played him for sure. That's I don't know.
Green?
So Daly Cherry Evans, Daly Cherry Evans is a bench.
Blue reserve.
Fanua Blake is a green.
Oh, it's green. Oh, I'm colorblind. That's why. Yep, sorry. Apologies. Fanua Blake, 80. Got the better of Barnett, who had quite a low game with a 45. Barnett's price coming down a lot. He's still going to be more expensive than AFB. So if for some reason you need a front rower next week, I think AFB is probably the cream of the bunch. We had a low game from Tarpane this week, so I think AFB cream of the bunch. Barnett's minutes are kind of been down a little bit to what we had before, and I think they're just throwing AFB out there. Also has more of attacking upside than that, but I guess apart from those 2, not really much from the Warriors. You could agree with that. I mean,
shout out to Sean Johnson for, with a try, a line break, and a try contribution for 37 points.
And last year he was like one of the best halfbacks in SuperCoach. Now he's just
I reckon he does finish the season strong. Like he's had some pretty poor performances, but I reckon, is he a halfback replacement potentially?
No. The fact that they're playing the Bulldogs and the Sharks and then a bye, I don't like. He has a tough run. The Wires have a tough run.
Yeah, okay.
Like those 2 teams, Dogs, I think, just became the best defensive team this season. And the Sharks, top 4 side, they're not really leaking. So, unfortunately, let's just stay away from SJ if you've got that trade.
I agree. All right, moving on to the Roosters versus the Parramatta Eels, and this was massive, 38-14, and the Roosters just do kind of what we expected the Roosters to do. A lot of big scores from the Roosters. Dom Young, 128. A lot of people had sold Dom Young for Kalen Ponga last week, which, with a hammy injury this time of the season, you don't really want to hold people for too long if they're going to have niggling injuries. So I 100% understand why he did sell, but the fact he's come back and played this week and scored a hat-trick for 128, that's the worst luck Supercoach can get. But at the same time, I think Dom Young is one of the highest upside center wings that there are. So it's also luck versus rewards.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he was touch and go. As soon as he was getting named to starting, you had to play him. If you obviously pulled the trigger to get rid of him last week, I mean, you take that sword. Ponga went well last week, so it kind of balances out a bit.
Teddy, 125. I know in the intro it says, will Jake have Tedesco this week? You've actually had him probably more than most of us this year. And I think you've learned.
I learned it for a year of punishment. I had to endure every time I came on. Hey, Jake, you got Tedesco. So that's embedded in my brain, and just not to go without Tedesco when he's on a run.
You know what's funny? I think the people who have anti-potted Tedesco this year, it's kind of been in the past. It happened to me last year when I anti-potted Kalen Ponga. The year before would have been ending with Latrell Mitchell in 2022. I think he went on an absolute tear late in the season. And the year before, if you anti-potted Turbo, you were just done. You're absolutely done. So I think you've got to identify these fullbacks every year, because 125, it feels like he could have scored a lot more in this game. I think he was on 125 with 20 minutes to go.
Well, if they weren't playing in a swimming pool, I think he would have scored a lot more. That field, that was pretty chaotic. The scenes.
It's funny. It was meant to be the only dry game of the weekend, but it became the only wet game of the weekend, really. Yeah, so Joey Manu, highly traded in this week, 81 points. Looked pretty good, pretty good draw. So I think you'd be pretty happy with that. But considering a lot of the center wings scored quite significantly better, I think you want them high upside guys. So hopefully he can do that for you late on in the season. Angus Crichton, only 57 points, highly traded in this week, loses about 35K, goes down to 665. What are your thoughts on Angus if you don't have him in your side yet? Do you think he is someone you've got to prioritize getting in? Or, I've seen a lot of talk saying that he signed his contract. So ever since he signed the contract, his average has gone like significantly down. But is it just this time of year where the ball's going to the backs much quicker?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think it goes to the backs, and we saw that. I don't think he's a must-have. I think everyone's kind of got a lot of other gun second row forwards to cover, and I mean, everyone's got either zero trades or very few. So I think prioritizing covering emergencies, Cleary now getting a halfback, getting 5'8" if you kind of got Jules or something like that, over an Angus Crichton, a couple of, lowish scores. Does update well kind of every week because he has, a bunch of offloads. So I think he was on like 43 or something pre-update. So
yeah, 44.
He always updates well. But I mean, if you've got Eli Katoa, Olakuatu, Nikora, they're matching them. So I kind of wouldn't be using a trade on Angus where you could probably need and use that a bit better in the next couple of rounds.
I agree. We've got a comment here from Chris Najar. What's high score looking like this week? 15-20, Teddy C here. I've got to tell you, I'm looking at my app right now. I see 15-51, a 15-61, and they're from quite highly ranked players. 15-49, I see 15-35. So I know when people think they're like going to be the winning score of the week, you get humbled quite quickly when you realize you're not. But someone's got to win the week. But I actually
well, the sounds of that could be like around the 1600 mark, the winner.
For sure. Because if they're the highly ranked people, surely there's someone rogue. Like there's also 1556 here. I think par is going to be above 1400 nearly by the look of it. 1585 I see here.
And then updates still to come as well. I'm not too sure. Par, maybe the high 1300s, like your 1350, maybe to 1375, around that. I'm seeing probably his par. I mean, it depends where you are ranked. Obviously, at your high ranked, it's going to be about 1400. But
yeah, for sure.
For the Savs, it's not going to be quite that.
Yeah, it'll be higher because people swinging in or about. So I'm trying to look to see if I can find a 1600 because I reckon I can find one, but I'll probably be scrolling for too long. So let's just leave it there. All right. For the Parramatta Eels, Clint Gutherson, 70 points. He's Mr. Consistent this time of year. Not really much to talk about with him. Joey Lussick, the auto emergency nightmare, 51 points, goes over for a try. It's funny. The commentators were saying he kept going out of dummy half to try and score a try. And the commentators kept saying, "Oh, he wants a try tonight," and he finally got his try. He's just always been like that. So if he had an 80-minute role, he'd be the worst for Parramatta, but like good for an auto emergency. Dylan Brown, 36. This is quite annoying for me because he was someone who it's an obvious sit on face value versus the Roosters, but I look at his record against the Roosters and his last few scores were like 280s and 88, so 82, 50, and there was an 88 before that. So I was looking at that score thinking, oh, okay, he plays good sides and just falls into points still somehow. But this is one I could have easily sat for, a Marju, Eli Katoa. So I think that decision annoys me most this weekend, but you live and you learn, and I'm quite happy I've held on to Dylan Brown this time of year because I think he's a good thing.
Yeah, they have some decent matchups, and Para were looking good or better before this game. So yeah, Broncos Dragons, there's points on offer for him, so can be a decent play.
Yeah, the Tigers the last game, so it'll be interesting to see how
that'll be a battle for the spoon, probably that game.
Yeah, it will be.
Tigers, what a game!
Funny, the Tigers won. How funny is that?
Yeah, bizarre.
The Bulldogs played the Dolphins and Carraz top scored with 121 points. Do you have Carraz, Jake?
No, I don't. So it's quite painful watching
Mm.
him bounce around, scoring tries, offloads, tackle busts. But I mean, he's been the gun center wing this year. I think when we do our end of year awards, I have a feeling he might be the winner of the center wing category.
You reckon?
I'm just having a little guess at that one. I think he might be the winner.
Yeah, I guess it depends how he finishes this last few weeks as well, because we know us super coaches, we have the massive recency bias. So if he finishes with 2 more tons to finish the year, then he'll easily get that award. But like he scores throughout the year. He's averaging 74. I assume that goes up after this week. How many tons has he had? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now he's had 7 tons in a total of, what's that, 21 games. So that's a pretty good strike rate of 1 out of 3 games he gets a ton. So that's pretty good. I think he was someone I got straight after the Origins period because I looked at their draw and he was someone who actually scared me when I watched. And I'm not sure about you, but every time he gets the ball in good space, do you just think, shit?
Yeah, like there's points. Every time he gets the ball, he's busting 2 tackles and throwing an offload, even when he's up his own end of the field. So, and he has 20 of those runs a game. So yeah, it's definitely like, shit, here comes more points for Carraz. And then as soon as he gets the ball, 10 meters out, with a clean run in front of him, there goes 30 points. So yeah, it's been annoying not to have him. He just I haven't had the opportunity ever to pick him up this year. So he's kind of one that's like, damn. And hopefully it doesn't bite me in the next 2 rounds in finals. Because I'm pretty sure everyone I'm versing has him.
Oh God, that's frustrating. At least you had the week off this week.
Yes.
From most. Connor Tracy, 89 points, so 720K. He has the Warriors, Manly, and then the Cowboys in the last game, who, pretty good run for him considering he's absolutely killing it at the moment. What are his last few scores? I think since his big score, 167, 61, 49, and then 89 this week, that's pretty good.
Yeah, good. But look at his price.
Yeah.
I think you'd rather go, someone else at that price, paying at center wing. Especially if you've already got Carraz. If you don't have Carraz, you'll get Carraz. Like, you don't really want both.
Yeah, that's true. It's funny, if you don't have Carraz, you wouldn't go Tracy as a pod because
you'd get Carraz.
Yeah, 100%. Matt Burton, can he be a potential Cleary replacement?
I mean, I've had Burton for quite a lot. And I don't think so. I think DCE, I put Luai above. I know you guys would have that duel, which would cover, say, your Dylan Brown, your Cody Walker, sort of, if you've got those in as well. But no, I don't think so. I would prefer the other guys over Burton. He just doesn't seem to have the ceiling. And watching him, he kind of doesn't get involved a lot. It seems to be Toby Sexton's team. Like, he's the one that gets the ball all the time doing the kicking for like the attacking kicks. And he had like an intercept try in this one and then a line break for a try and ends up with 72. So I don't know. I'd prefer the other guys. I think they have more control on their own sides and more likely for points.
Yeah, I think someone said as soon as Toby Sexton come into the side that his ceiling's been quite capped. So Toby Sexton came into the side. He played round 5. I'm pretty sure Burton scored 150 that game.
You can't do that one because you come off the bench in that game because he only played 35.
Oh, yeah, true. But then from round 12, he come in and then Burton scores from round 12. From memory, they kind of were the same. So
they're okay, but they're not.
But he has a lot of 50s in him now. But that could also just be the matchup. So it just seems like he doesn't score much more than 80. And I think this time of year,
like 50 between 80, that's what he seems to be scoring with Toby Sexton in the team.
Yeah, like you prefer to have a DCE this week with the chance to go 120 to get you into a grand final rather than have someone who's going to score you 80 over the next 2 weeks. because that could be the difference between making a grand final and not.
Absolutely.
Not much else for the Dogs, but Curran seems to have gone through his 87th season-ending injury this week, but somehow he'll be named to start again next week. This one seemed a bit more serious, did it seem?
Yeah, I mean, every week he's carrying about, like you said, 4,000 injuries. He needs a week off, but the fact that they don't really have any other forwards, they keep throwing him out there. And he's just a tough player. He's going to do it, but I don't know. I mean, they said, yeah, he'll be right, but I don't know. Poor guy does need a rest. And the fact that they're still in the shot for the top 4, I think they're still going to throw the poor bloke out.
Yeah,
Say, do your best.
Something
Survive.
tells me he's going to play next week. Max Plath, top scores for the Dolphins, just killing it at the moment. Not much else. Herbie Farmworth, 56. Hammer, 43, quite underwhelming. But I think all the Dolphins stocks we kind of earmarked as sells for this time of year because even Jermaine Asako, 54 points.
Yeah, tough run for them. I think they versus Storm next week.
Yeah, that's pretty tough. I still see like Jermaine Asako potentially scoring a try against them. So, but
Yeah,
like he's
Melbourne
scored a
legend,
try this week for 54 points. So, you need more than that this time of year, in my opinion.
Agreed. Yeah.
All right, Cowboys play the Raiders, and Jesus Christ, look at that!
Oh,
the
Val
Jake Cleary show.
Holmes. Oh, he was fantastic. They dropped Chad, and the Cows are a completely new side. Work that out for them. Is he a replacement for Cleary, Saps?
Oh, Jesus.
The fact that they have the bye next week means it's a no. So unfortunately, we can't go that way.
Yeah, that's funny. It's funny. In a few chats, I saw people say Valentine Holmes doesn't scare me this time of year because his matchups are awkward, and I kind of agreed. I thought Val Holmes versus Raiders. I had a lot of decisions.
More from the Raiders in this one, yeah.
Yeah, I did, and I actually considered sitting Val, just because I thought, the Raiders, but obviously I did not do that. But I think Valentine Holmes has to be one for one of the center wings of the year. Having a look at his last few weeks, 104, 136, 56, and then 145, 136 in round 12. He scored 136 against the Tigers twice. That's amazing.
Mate, they've always flogged them. Oh, yeah, the exact same score. Sorry, I was just thinking, it scored tons. I was like, it's the exact same score.
Yeah, I know. That's amazing. But I think a lot of people ended up selling Val during this Origin period, looking at the Manly matchup, the Bulldogs, Sharks, then Tigers, Broncos, Canberra, and then Melbourne and Bulldogs in the last few weeks. But I think that move has proved pretty crucial, and it's the reason I didn't consider selling him at all, because he was someone who I got burnt by doing that last year.
Yeah, he has, like we can see with those scores, such a high ceiling. And I mean, even the worst games, he's still going to score 50 points. So yeah, I mean, I can understand why people sold him. They needed to jump on, say, a fullback if they had Jules around, or jump on, I don't know, Carraz or someone like that. But yeah, he wasn't someone I ever really considered selling, even with, I guess, the run home and the buy. So maybe now he's a sell, but not up until this point.
They do have Melbourne when they come back from the bye, and then they got the Dogs. So their matchups aren't brilliant, but I think this time of year you've got bigger fish to fry, to be honest.
Well, I guess with that Melbourne game, there is all the rumors about Melbourne resting
true.
The whole side for round 26. So that could be the Cowboys versus a reserve grade Storm side. You expect in North Queensland as well at home, so you could expect a bit of a score if that's the case. But we're taking the Cheese's words for that one. So,
but it's funny. Prior to this, I think prior to this week, I expected Penrith to beat Melbourne this week, and after the St. George loss, I thought that resting in round 26 could have been under jeopardy because if there were a chance to miss out on that minor premiership, then maybe the restings came a bit more subtly, like in-game restings or they rest one player this week and another player the next week. But I think this is now they're 4 points clear of number one. I think there's a good chance they just rest all their players in round 26 for that matchup. So it is a really good point, and I think Val Holmes is pretty crucial if that's the case. Kyle Felt, I did on one of our Tuesday podcasts, I did a Who Am I type.
I did see this one.
And
I didn't know he was going that well.
Yeah, how good is he going? Well, I think you've obviously missed out at the moment, but I think it's just coincided with Drinky, and Drinky just loves that cutout ball from left to right. But he's absolutely killing it at the moment. And is he even owned by anyone? Does anyone?
I don't think so. I reckon it would be lucky to be 1%.
30 people traded him in, and he's owned by 2% of teams. That's crazy.
Wow.
Scott Drinkwater, 102 points. He's killing it for fullback, but I think it's time to move on to a Turbo, Teddy, or potentially Ponga after this week.
Absolutely, yep.
Reece Robson, 61 points. Hooker is going shithouse this year. I think Robson, if you held him through the Origin period and through everything, you'd be quite happy. For the Raiders, Hudson Young, 85 points. He has killed it this time.
He had no attacking stats in this. That was all in base. I mean, he had, I think, 10 offloads or something. He had a ridiculous amount of offloads for his 80. Yeah, he had no try assist, no line break. And he goes and scores 85. But yeah, he had like 24 points in offloads, which is
24 points.
That does prop your price up a bit, your score up a bit.
30 points in runs, 30 points in tackles, 24 points in offloads. That's crazy. 8 points in tackle bust. Obviously,
he's like you're about to say, he has finished the season on fire. So if you got on him when he's, at his, lowest, would have been a pretty good pod on the run home.
Yeah. So what price was he? Before his first ton, he was 630K, and then he got 120, 104, 47.50. So he obviously petered out a bit, but I reckon he's not too bad. Plays Penrith next week, I think.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah, you would. I mean, you wouldn't be looking at him if you're looking at a second rower. You go Angus Crichton over him. I guess more chance of an attacking upside player, or you've already got 3-4 decent second rowers. So I kind of wouldn't really be going second row.
Yeah, agree. Tarpanay has one of his lowest games, 49 points. I'll take it. Everyone's got him now, so I'm not really worried about that. I think we've come to the point where we realize why Mikey actually isn't here tonight, and that's because Tommy Starling predicted to get 98 points in this matchup, only 32 points.
All these accusations on why Mikey isn't here. I love it. So yeah, well, let's note that one down. But I mean, put this game aside, they got flogged. He's been quite good. I mean, he's been scoring 50, 60 minimum every week. So the fact they've been flogged. I mean, every other hooker's going out and scoring 40 to 50 anyway. This hooker's been quite poo for a couple of months now. Yeah,
agree. I've got just a little statement here. Connor Mack, I am never buying Reed Marnie ever again. We didn't actually touch on him, but he was someone, Timmy, and a lot of people were looking at, I'm not sure what round, but he scored 30 points this week. I forget which, 440.
It would have been kind of when other hookers were kind of out. You needed him for buy coverage.
Yeah, it was this round. So after round 18, everyone's like, look at his scores, 62, 93, 53, 48, 79, 76. So it would have been here. And I remember he scored 25, 39, 41, 23, and then 30 this week.
Wow.
And Timmy had him in his side. Could you imagine Timmy right now? If he did that? He ended up getting Harry Grant.
Timmy banned Reed Marnie from a couple of years ago, and he was going to potentially go back there again and ban him again.
I know, but Reed Marnie draws you in with this false sense of security and then kills you once again. The Tigers defeated the Rabbitohs, and Supercoach wise, this was pretty solid. Like Lockie Galvin, 83 points. He's just the gift that keeps on giving. Did you end up playing him?
Oh, mate, I haven't had him for ages.
Really?
Yeah, I got rid of him a long time ago. I think for Burton. I haven't had Galvin for a while, but in terms of just Supercoach, obviously he's going fantastic. But in terms of just rugby league, he just looks like such a good footy player. Like once his hands on the ball, runs at the line, setting up everything. If he was in a better side, he'd be nearly a really good pickup for anyone. But the fact he's with the Tigers, that kind of hurts his appeal for next year, for example.
Yeah, it's funny because he's scoring so consistently this year that I think there's a genuine case to have him in Supercoach next year.
The Tigers can possibly only get better, so I mean, there is that for potential Galvin look.
Yeah, just every run he does, like he runs the ball and then he offloads. How many points did he get in offloads this game? My break assist 26. Only 8 points in offloads. That's pretty small for him, but yeah, he's killing it, and I'm so glad I didn't sell. I sold Cody Walker instead of him. It was between him and Cody Walker for me. I sold Cody Walker, and that's a decision I'm very
the right decision.
Cody Walker 33 points, not very good. Adam Dewey 60 points. I guess for the Tigers, there's not much doing there. Appy
Corustow's the only one that's really owned a low score, but again, with the dummy halves the way they are, who cares?
It's not really that bad because you're pretty much putting that 35 points up against every other hooker who's scoring very similar. Colin Matungi, a lot of people were asking, do I sell? But back to the edge, 80 minutes. This is what you're going to get from him. And I think this is a great move for people that own. I think this is good for him for the attacking upside. So that's exciting. Cam Murray, 96 points. Damien Cook, 90 points. Jai Gray, 89. There's just points everywhere. Fletcher Myers heavily traded in 51 points. Cody Walker, 33. I guess Supercoach-wise, nothing is absolutely amazing, but they're pretty solid.
Cam Murray does interest me if you've kind of got a lot of trades and you need to bring in a second row. I mean, we know he's Supercoach pedigree from before. You're going to get him very cheap. And the fact that he's, looks to be back playing 80 in the middle. I mean, he scored that 96 without a try or try assist. He did have a line break, but take that out, he's still getting 80. That's pretty ridiculous scoring for Cam Murray. So
53 in tackles, 6 in tackle bus, and 26 in runs. That's ridiculous.
Like a sneaky pickup. And he kind of does have a bit of a ceiling as well because he does, line breaks, gets a lot of tries, involved in their attack as well for, try assists. So could be a little sneaky pickup, massive pod. I think one of my mates brought in Cam Murray, but he got knocked out anyway, so concerns.
I don't mind it. I was looking at him prior to the run home, but obviously other things came up.
The fact that he was on the second, like he was on the edge, you're like, I don't want to touch him if he's playing there. But
that's also true. Yeah, 536K. He'll go up to about 560, 570. So I think he's at a good price too. The Dragons defeated the Titans 32-16. Zach Lomax, 89 points, killing it. But one person I want to touch on, we've talked about how shit the hookers have gone. Jacob Little. Have you seen how he's gone this year?
He's been nuts. Like he's flown under the if you were to say flown on the radar, he has 100% done that. Like he's been so consistent, playing 80 minutes, getting attacking stats, running. Like he's kind of the one that no one really jumped on, but he's been killing it.
How has
look at them scores?
How has no one spoken about him? So if you got him in round 12, you would have had scores of 102, 52, 69, 63, 90, 70, 75, 72, 60, 65, and then 84 again yesterday.
Today.
Today. Let me just look at like the total points for hookers because surely he's up there.
Yeah, I mean,
he's second.
Run late, but yeah, he's been pretty much the best hooker. So,
wild. No, he's fourth, but on averages 60.8. Oh, well, that doesn't really matter. Oh, sorry. Can you see that? No, you can't even see that.
No, you've blocked the screen.
Yeah, so he's actually fourth overall for total points. In front of him is Reed Marnie. But Jacob Little hasn't played as many games. He's played 19 games instead of 20. Appy Coruscant is in front of him only by 70 points. And then Damien Cook is the number one hooker at 1285 points.
Like we mentioned how hookers have been garbage, he's the one that has not been garbage. And just because no one's really wanted to trade or can be bothered trading hookers, he's just flown on the radar and he's like, what, 2.7%. But like when you're reading him out, the lowest score I think he had was a 53 and pretty much every other score was over 70 as well. So
It's funny,
big time.
the two highest averaging hookers are actually going to be at the same club next year. So that's going to be interesting. It's going to actually make hooker a worse position next year.
Yeah, because it's turning 2 into 0 from.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Not much else for the Dragons. Ben Hunt, 80 points. Yeah, the Couchman's pretty good. But Keanu Keeney, 91 points, killing it. Jojo Fafita. I think if you got Jojo Fafita about the time that I got Brian Kelly, then
you'd be better off.
Yeah, you'd be better off. So I got Brian Kelly in round 15. He got 84 points, and then he got 25, 51, 34. Oh, yeah, I don't know.
There's a couple of stinkers in there.
There's a few stinkers in there, but also these big ones when you do play him. It's very nice. Philip Sammy has been killing it as well, 73 points. Jaden Campbell, 62 points. Supercoach-wise, he's doing very well, I think, but I think just as a rugby league player for that left edge, he kills that left edge.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, a lot of their points don't really seem to come down that edge unless they're throwing a pass AKP to run around everyone. But yeah, they're not really getting Fafita any quality ball, which is kind of hurting them. But we're not coaches, so we can't really have a say.
Yeah, it's true. Hopefully they do fix it up. Like Dave Fafita is catching a cold out there, still scoring very well, 68 points. But yeah, not much you can do there. I played Brian Kelly when I heard the Iro news, and I could have played Marju, but I was really excited to play Brian Kelly, and he's not been that good. I think I've just got to get rid of my pod love affair with playing a pod and just
stick with playing basic.
Exactly. Exactly. The Sharks
the last game.
How'd you see this one, Jake?
Well, I thought this game was an absolute stinker. Neither team deserved to win. In terms of Supercoach, not a whole lot. I guess the most owned guys, Nikura was okay with a try. Mulatalo came back for a lot of people, so they would have got an extra number, got a late try, saved his score kind of thing. On the other side, I guess Gagai, sneaky pod some people might have. He always consistently scores well. Kalen Ponga with assist 73. I guess with Kalen Ponga, it's 40 to 50 points less than what everyone else that doesn't have Kalen Ponga got with Turbo or Teddy. So it's kind of a bit of a loss there. And I guess KPP 70. Savs didn't play. Marzu 67 didn't play. KPP finally got a try. It was a pretty ordinary looking try. Kind of just ball fell in his lap and he put the ball down. But maybe this is where the floodgates open.
Potentially, it happened with Iro.
Yes.
It happened with Iro. And I'm actually like, Kaipi's Paul, I was quite nervous having him for the back end of the season, but 67 points last week and then another 70 points this week. They got a pretty good draw coming up. I'm actually quite excited to own him and potentially use him.
The Titans, so very nice.
Yeah, hopefully he can be a nice little option for the run home, but not much else there. Ponga has a nice little draw for the run home. Jaden Brayley, 67 points. So a lot of people would have played him, maybe.
Yeah, but it was the Brayley versus Brayley this game. And I guess you have the wrong Brayley in your team.
Yeah, I got the wrong Brayley. Me and Timmy were saying earlier in the week, you've got to look out for these little omen things because last week Eels played Parramatta and both Tungo brothers scored, and we're like, how did we not think of that? So we tried to look for it this weekend, and we're looking at this one. We're like, both Brayleys are going to score this game.
They didn't.
They did. But I guess that's it for the wrap up. We'll answer some quick questions. Matthew Walker, are you straight captaining Turbo Thursday night? It's a good question.
I mean, it's going to depend on your AEs and how risk averse you are, but I think against the Tigers, it seems like he's
I'm
going to go
doing it.
nuts.
I'm doing it. Any news on Cleary? He should be back for finals.
Yeah, it seems to be gone for the rest of the regular season. Like I've said, I don't think they'll bother bringing him back in. They seem to be locked into second, so there's no point in rushing him and getting him out for the rest of the season.
Yep. I captained Teddy over Nathan, dodged a bullet there. I think, a lot of people didn't captain Nathan, so
Yeah.
I think, Gray for Cleary with Latrell out this season. Sorry.
Gray for Cleary. He looks good, but he's playing for a not so good side.
Yeah, I don't think he's got enough ball playing in him to have that massive ceiling. So, I probably wouldn't. What will happen with Little next year with Cook arriving? I think Cook starts, Little comes on about 20, 30 minutes in, and Cook plays in the middle at lock or something.
Like he has been for South. Sort of, I think that's the role that they'll go with. He goes all right there.
Let's hope Joe Chan is named. Yes, let's hope. Or, actually, this is huge. So when Melbourne rest all their players in round 26, which actually I wish it was round 27 because Joe Chan would get a start and play 80 minutes. So round 26 probably isn't a week where you're going to need it, but round 27 will be.
Yep. Yeah.
I guess that's it.
You completely avoided the Chris Shanko comments, Savs.
Oh, where's that?
That one. Savs throwing stones in a glass house with Mikey Starling move.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. Yeah, I should have bought Starling.
You should have.
They've got pretty bad matchup this week. Actually, you know what I should have done? Should have just taken the AE or just kept Egan and taken the AE this week. What I should have done. Well, you live and you learn. All right. It's Tim Moody says Savs is deflecting.
Yeah, see?
What does that mean? Yeah.
I don't know when he brought that up to what you were talking about at that point. So
yeah, okay. And paycheck 5 trades left, Cleary to DCE. Lock it in.
Yeah, I think so. The fact that they're versus the Tigers, I think, slam dunk, no brainer.
Tim Moody on the Brayley moment.
Oh, Brayley, yeah. You copped a bit of slack for that.
Well, I'm still quite happy with it. I thought it was a good matchup today. I was excited, but he's playing a different role. Like, he's not getting the base stats that he's defending out a bit wider. He's not defending right in the middle. So, I think circumstances have gone against me, to be honest. So when Trindle's back next week, should be all right.
I think Trindle's going to be back next week, and then Hines potentially the week after. Depends. I mean, the Sharks look terrible, so they'll probably want a half back to kind of get them in a bit of form.
You talked about the try combo for the brothers avoided the issue.
Yeah, so that's what you were deflecting over Brayley being poo.
Yeah, he was poo. He was poo today, but
that's all right. You can hear about it all on Tuesday as well, Savs.
Yep. All right. Thank you for tuning in, lads, and we'll see you next week.
Peace.